The American people didn't go in. A small number of people called the neoconservatives hijacked our foreign policy. They're responsible, not the American people. They're not responsible. We shouldn't punish them.
Congressman, we are one nation. We can't be divided. We have to be one nation under God. That means if we make a mistake, we make it as a single country, the United States of America, not the divided States of America.
When we make a mistake, it is the obligation of the people through their representatives to correct the mistake, not to continue the mistake.
And that's what we do on the floor of the Senate?
No, we've dug a hole for ourselves and we've dug a hole for our party. We're losing elections and we're going down next year if we don't change it. And it has all to do with foreign policy, and we have to wake up to this fact.
Even if we lose elections, we should not lose our honor, and that is more important than the Republican Party.
We've lost over 5,000 Americans over there in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and plus the civilians killed. How many more do you want to lose? How long are you going to be there? How long? What do we have to pay to save face? That's all we're doing is saving face. It's time we came home.
Well, you can go online and rate the candidates' performances in tonight's debate. Just go to politics.msnbc.com. So far, we've received nearly 2,000 votes. The highest-rated candidate at the moment, Ron Paul, with 39%. And a mighty roar has just gone up from Ron Paul's supporters.
By the way, here's a look at the early results of our text message poll. First place, Ron Paul, surprisingly, 30%.
Let's take a look at the results so far for tonight's You Vote. In first place with 33%, Ron Paul. The Paulites, I guess, busy dialing and redialing on the phone.
You know what? They're redialing by the second.
The Paulites, I guess, busy dialing and redialing on the phone.
You know what? They're redialing by the second.
At CNBC, we did an online poll after the debate of who won the debate. Ron Paul dominated the debate, and some of my colleagues at CNBC thought that there was something wrong with that. They took the poll down. I want to tell you, my email box, thousands and thousands and thousands of email.
And now it is time to reveal the results from our text messaging poll. As of now, in first place, Ron Paul, 39%. In second place, Mike Huckabee, getting 19% of the vote.
Can I say something?
And
they're stacking. Yeah, they're stacking the deck. That's the way they have it every campaign. He did not win this debate. Period.
What's success for you in this campaign?
What's success? Well, to win is one is the goal.
That's not going to happen.
Politico today points out, obviously he's not going to win the nomination, unfortunately, but he could be a spoiler. He could hurt other candidates, namely Huckabee. Is Ron Paul's support going to get to the point where it's significant for other candidates?
I mean, I think that first of all, it's always fun when the guy gets ahead who has no intention of winning and isn't even really trying. We don't really know what's going to happen if Ron Paul messes up Iowa. We actually, and he really could.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen with that party in general. Bill?
I just want to say about Ron Paul, this idea that he's a spoiler. Spoiler for whom? I think the message is here that Ron Paul has a message, and people ought to start, instead of trying to throw him off the stage, they ought to start listening to him.
So, official person of the county of Pinellas.
That's right.
Trespassed onto your property?
Yes.
And stole your signs.
What else can I say? That's what happened.
You've received some criticism. Some say you're the person who doesn't belong. You have views that are out of what many would think of the mainstream. I want to read you some of the criticism that came out after this last debate. These are some comments made of your performance. Here's Roger Simon writing in the Politico. In terms of the presidency, nobody cares what Ron Paul says, perhaps not even Ron Paul. Gloria Borger writing in U.S. News and World Report. Representative Ron Paul of Texas, who gives new meaning to the question asked by Ross Perot's former running mate, Admiral James Stockdale, who am I? Why am I here? And in the Daily News of New York and editorial, Ron Paul, whose performance Tuesday proved him the Sanjaya of the political arena. What do you make of the critics who say, why is this guy in a Republican debate? If he wants to run as the Libertarian.
Well, I would ask you why you pick out 3 when I could find you probably 1,000 that contradict exactly what you say.
A lot of people have been asking me, who is Ron Paul? And one day I came home from my class, probably 2 weeks after I've had the signs on my truck. I'd gotten notice on the door saying we couldn't have signs other places, but then when he got to the point where I couldn't have these signs on my truck, I could not believe it. I mean, I thought they were joking with me. So the county has threatened to fine up to $1,000 a day for having the signs on my truck.
Huckabee could barely raise $1 million. Ron Paul, I think he got $5.3 million. Quick quiz, J.R. Jackson. Who's got more money in the bank right now? John McCain or Ron Paul? Ron Paul has more money than John McCain. And by the way, this is when you know the media is lying. Okay? The media likes certain candidates, and they've decided those are going to be the candidates. Ron Paul's got more money than John McCain. Ron Paul raised $5.3 million. That's almost among the top candidates, right? Not a legitimate candidate. Not a legitimate candidate. Look away from Ron Paul. He's against the Iraq War, against Iran. Look away. No, not legitimate. Wait a minute. I thought you were telling me that candidates are legitimate or not legitimate based on how much money there is. Now he's raised as much as them. Now what are you going to do? Not legitimate. We don't like his opinions. Ignore him. I mean, that's f***ed up. It really is. It goes to show you there's something wrong here.
And of course, the Republican Party has a lot more contributions from the U.S. military servicemen and veterans than the Democrats. So
that's an interesting observation. They break it down that way. I didn't know that. You know,
So,
it's funny you say. I haven't met one guy in the military I know that says, "Yeah, I want Hillary as my commander-in-chief." I haven't heard that.
Anyway, so you know which party they're supporting, but Sean, this was interesting. Do you know who got the most donations out of any candidate from military servicemen and veterans?
Who's that?
It was actually Congressman Ron Paul. He got even more than McCain.
I'd be surprised. Look, Congressman Paul's not going anywhere.
This is the Pentagon asked the Democratic-led Congress for another $190 billion in war spending, $42 billion more than the Pentagon had estimated, and they will likely get every penny. How is that possible with a newly Democratic Congress ushered in on a wave of voter anger and frustration with the war?
Predictions for 2008, who do you think the Republican candidate will be? Let's start with Laura Elizabeth Morales. She was going to be the Republican nominee if you had to be a betting woman this morning.
If I had to be a betting woman and I had to be idealistic, I'd really like to see Ron Paul get the nomination for the Republican Party.
Whoa!
I really think he's a sound traditional conservative. Yeah. It's a surprising come of things, and I really think he really sticks to the Constitution and really stands for what conservatives believe in.
Okay.
But it brings me to the other question. Is there any likely, let's say,
What are you trying to say?
top-tier GOP candidate? Because if I was a betting woman, I'd say Ron Paul doesn't have a chance, unfortunately, for you.
And that's the young Republican speaking. Let's listen to the young Democrat. Rachel, on your party, who do you think's going to get the ticket? Make it short, will you?
Well, it doesn't really matter who gets the ticket because anybody could be a better president than President Bush at this point. And let's focus on just a Democrat winning in 2008 and put aside everything.
But that's not the question. I said, who would you, if you had to pick somebody?
I'm sorry, what?
If you had to pick somebody, who would you pick?
I'd pick a Democrat. Well, let's face it. I mean, all of the college Democrats, you know, we're still behind just winning a Democrat in 2008. If you look at all the Republican candidates, I mean, the Democrats are such a diverse group, and all the Republican candidates, every one of them has said that they would commute Scooter Libby. They said that, you know, they would stay in Iraq and turn it into the next Korea.
Everybody on this stage, we are all united, Wolf. We all believe that we need to try to end this war. In 2 nights, you're going to have the Republican candidates here. They all support the war. They all support the president. They all supported the escalation. Each of us is trying in our own way to bring the war to an end.
So you pledge that by January 2013, the end of your first term, more than 5 years from now, there will be no U.S. troops in Iraq.
I don't want to make promises.
I agree with Barack. It is very difficult to know what we're going to be inheriting.
Senator Edwards, will you commit that at the end of your first term in 2013, all U.S. troops will be out of Iraq?
I cannot make that commitment.
You know, my platform is not very complicated because it's found in a little booklet. It's right here, and it's called the Constitution of the United States.
It's time we came home.